What's going on, guys? My name is CJ Wolf and this is Dark Souls 3. So I'm titling this video PvP in Crisis. Now, what I wanted to talk about was kind of like the issues I see in PvP and kind of a little bit of why I don't like it and like my gripes, I guess you could say, that I have with this game. Now, I wanted to start it off by talking about a certain uploader that he's been getting a lot of hate recently because, you know, everyone says, oh, he's been doing nothing but complaining and, you know, instead of bitching about losing, you should work on your tactics and work on timing and just a bunch of suggestions basically saying stop complaining and, you know, get good or whatever. Now, my issue with that is, for those of you that don't know, it's Mr. I Won't Forget, and he was using the Great Wooden Hammer, or the Wooden Great Hammer, or whatever the hell it's called. And, you know, he was losing a lot, and he was getting frustrated because that weapon, that weapon is terrible. But basically, everyone was just like, why are you complaining? Get good, like everything has a counter. You know, instead of bitching about it, you should learn how to counter everything in the game and all this other crap. Now, first of all, like, he was asked to use that weapon, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he chose to use that weapon. He was asked by his fans and he obliged because he wants to experiment. Well, at least I think he wants to experiment with different weapons, and if the fans ask for it, he's gonna deliver, you know? So he was asked to use that weapon. It's not like he's a glutton for punishment using bad weapons and then bitching about it. It's like, I don't think he would have used that weapon. Or that wouldn't have been his first choice if he wasn't asked to use it. Now, I was very active in that comment section, you know, as active as I wanted to be, and I read all the comments, and, you know, one thing that a lot of people were saying, as I said already, is they're like, you know, work on your tactics, get good, work on your timing, like you're just making bad decisions, you're just playing super aggressive, and that's why you keep losing, because you keep rushing in. But my thing is, like, what can he really do? Like, the weapon is outclassed literally in every single way. That weapon, I swear, did like 200 damage for every swing. I don't know what his AR was on his build, but like his damage was so terrible. So basically, there's no reason for a Great Hammer to do less damage than the straight sword. Because I swear, like, based on my experiences, like, I do an R1 with the longsword, plus 9. It's not even fully upgraded, it's plus 9. And I do like 300 damage. With an R1, with an R1, sorry, I do about 200, 190, depends on the person's armor. So my unupgraded weapon does just as much damage as his Great Hammer fully upgraded. I think it was fully upgraded, I'm not exactly sure, so, you know, don't quote me on that. As we've said before, there's no reason for a damn Great Hammer to do as much as a straight sword, because the straight swords have everything going for them. They swing faster, they take up less stamina, and they're gonna do the same amount of damage. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. So that Great Hammer, like, literally the only thing that it had going for it was that, like, well, one is it has hyper armor a little bit, but as we've talked about before, hyper armor, it can be unreliable. Not that it is, but it can be. And then two is that R1, L2, R2 combo. And, you know, the thing about that combo is, like, Mr. I Won't Forget, like, or just pretty much anyone, like, in duels, you could easily do that combo over and over again and kill everybody like in 2 shots, but what's the point? You get me? He's not trying to win every single game. He's not trying to just demolish everyone as fast as possible. They're duels. At least in my opinion, or the way I see it, his objective is to, like, work on his tactics, work on his timing and all that, and, like, you know, get better at the game, not necessarily kill everyone as fast as possible. So because of that, he's primarily going to use, you know, pretty much any other attack except that target combo, because with that combo, as we said already, it'll just, even with the Great Hammer, I think he was doing like 700 damage because that combo is like, it's just free 4 hits, you know what I mean? It's an easy to do combo, and it does a lot of damage even with the Great Hammer because it's 4 hits. So he's not going to necessarily go for that combo every single hit that he gets, because all you have to do to get that combo is hit an R1. Pretty much that's it. Just hit an R1, and in most cases that combo will work. It's not 100% of the time, but in most cases you'll get that easy to do combo. So he could do that, but as we said before, or as I just said, I think, in my opinion, he's just trying to work on his tactics and get better with the game, and experiment with different weapons. And his goal isn't necessarily to kill everyone, you know, as fast as possible, or win every game, or whatever. You know what I mean? So he could switch to a better weapon, but he's experimenting with weapons. You know, he's trying out different weapons. He wants to, I think, or at least for me, I want to try out every single weapon in the game, and I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. I mean, the title of his series is called Focus PvP, which means he's going to focus on using 1 or 2 weapons at a time. So he's basically restricted to the limitations of the weapon, and that weapon was really outclassed. Like, obviously, if he had, let's say, I don't know, a Black Knight Great Axe or whatever, and he was killing people like in 3 hits, you know, then he might have performed better. Or if he used, like, even, I don't know, like the Ward's Great Hammer. I haven't really used Great Hammers that much, so I can't really tell you which one's the best one or whatever. But like, for example, the Spiked Mace, it has that same target combo, and it has literally, like, I think the same move set, but it just does way more damage. And that target combo can kill someone, like, it will pretty much almost one-shot someone, and then all you have to do is get like another hit to kill them. So he could use a Spiked Mace, but he's already probably tried the Spiked Mace, and as I already said, he's focusing on using different weapons. So switching's not an option. So due to the limitations of the weapon, I mean, he was doing his best, you know, and unfortunately, like, that's just one of those weapons that's just not going to do anything. It's like the Smoldering Iron. Like, I have that damn thing almost fully upgraded, and the AR is like not even 300, you know. So it's like, can you really blame someone for feeling frustrated for using a weapon? And see, the thing about that dude is that Mr. I Won't Forget, at least in Dark Souls 1, because I mostly watch his Dark Souls 1 videos, he could beat a large majority of players with a large majority of the weapons. Like, that dude, he could parry, he knew how to toggle escape, he had good spacing, like, he was a good player, you know. So he could take out a majority of people with even weapons like the Mailwaker or like the Titanite Catchpole, you know. And those weapons, like, they weren't as limited as the Great Wooden Hammer, but they still had severe limitations. And the thing about it is, like, I'm not a part of Mr. I Won't Forget's fan club, or, you know, I'm not his cheerleader or anything like that, but I mean, I was just sitting there and I'm like, damn, like, you guys try using that weapon and just being super awesome and beating everyone with it, you know what I mean? Like, especially because there's a lot of tryhards in this game. Like, out of all the games, in my opinion, this game has like the worst tryhards, and like, that's a topic for another video. But like, he's facing dudes who do that ridiculous, like, you know, R1, L2, R2 combo, and then you got people with the Warden Twin Blades with the buff, and they bleed you out like in practically one hit, because that combo is like almost guaranteed on you, and then they gesture you thinking that they're so cool because they did one combo that requires like no skill whatsoever to land, because you just have to press a bunch of buttons. But anyways, so there's this dude named PvP Skills, and he released a video about an OP build, right? And in that build, he's using the Goddard Twin Swords, and he buffs it with Crystal Magic Weapon with like 60 intelligence, and just like practically one-shotting people. Now, I'm not mad at him, you know, because I like his videos, but my concern is there's going to be so many tryhards who are going to use that build and just start, like, kind of ruin the PvP, you know. That's my concern right now, because they're going to, like I said, for some reason, everyone just is so bloodthirsty. Like, I thought Dark Souls 1 was bad, but this game, Jesus, it's terrible. So at least to me, that build seems like it was meant for random invasions, and it wasn't necessarily meant for duels. But the problem is, a lot of people are going to see that, and it's their game, so they can do whatever the hell they want, and they're going to use it during duels. And, you know, they're going to get that ridiculous combo on you because there's no goddamn poise, and they're going to just think that they're the shit because they can press a couple buttons. Because, I mean, you could say, oh, work on your tactics or whatever, but when you're getting one shot, when you have that guaranteed combo, like, what are you gonna do? Like, no one's perfect, you know, and all you need to do is get hit once. All they need to do is hit an R1, one R1, and they get that combo practically for free. So all these guys can sit here and talk about, oh, work on your tactics, work on your spacing or whatever, but no one likes getting one-shotted, man. Like, no one enjoys that shit. So when it happens, and I know it's gonna happen, what are these guys gonna say? What are these guys gonna do? You know, and obviously there's gonna be some guys who don't know how to use the build, or it's gonna be super obvious, like when they're gonna go for an attack. But there's some guys with just a little bit of skill, like they can take out a lot of people, even if you're a better player, simply because of that damn freaking combo. Like, a lot of people are talking about, oh, Poise doesn't need to come back, it's gonna ruin the game or whatever, but it's like a lot of these builds that are coming out are gonna ruin the game. At least that's what I'm predicting, you know. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm predicting. So that was my problem with that build. Like, it's meant for random invasions, at least I think. It seems like it's meant for gang spanking because you get quick kills, you can kill them fast, and then you can keep going. But I think a lot of people are going to use it for duels, and we're going to be in trouble. Anyways, going back to my discussion about Mr. I Won't Forget. I used this example in one of my comments, and I'm like, okay, let's say there's these things called frames, for those of you that don't know. Basically, Dark Souls 1 runs at 60 frames per second. Most video games, or at least modern video games, I think run at that frame rate. So, 1 frame is 1/60th of a second, right? So let's say the Great Wooden Hammer takes 60 seconds to complete its move. It's about a second. I think that's a fair estimation. So it runs at 60 frames per second, and the Great Wooden Hammer takes 60 frames to complete, right? Now, let's say the Hyper Armor activates at 30 frames. So it takes half a second. It takes half a second for the Hyper Armor to kick in, right? Now, let's take a Straight Sword, right? A Straight Sword, probably 15 frames, I think, is a decent estimation for 1R1. So, with the Straight Sword, it'll complete its move in 15 frames. Now, if you both swing at the same exact time, the Straight Sword is going to beat you every single time, and you're never going to get that Hyper Armor out. And now, obviously, you know, it depends on timing, it depends on when both of you press the R1, it depends on a lot of things. So it's not like if you guys are always going to press it at the same time, and you're never going to get your Hyper Armor out. But I think those are fair numbers, or I don't know if anyone's done any testing, but I think if they were to do some testing, it would actually be pretty similar to that, pretty close to that, because that it doesn't seem too unreasonable. So that example just kind of goes to show you like how unreliable, I suppose you could say, that Hyper Armor can be. Now again, it depends on timing, it depends on when you press the R1, it depends on a lot of things. But when your Hyper Armor takes half a second to kick in, and the other dude swings so much faster, he does the same amount of damage, and it takes up less stamina, like, you're just outclassed in every single way. I know to a lot of people stamina doesn't seem like it really matters, but it does, because there'll be times where, let's say you run out of stamina after swinging those big weapons, you try and roll away, but you don't have stamina, so you get hit like twice because you out of stamina. And I mean, maybe to some guys who have a lot of endurance it's not really an issue, but that was the example that I wanted to share with you guys on why I think people need to stop complaining about these things, or people need to stop complaining about him complaining, because I think it was they were fair complaints. They were fair complaints. Now again, I'm not part of Mr. I Won't Forget's fan clubs, and I will admit that maybe he has been complaining a lot too much. But like I said, his complaints weren't unwarranted. And the way I see it, if a game forces you time and time again to have to change your play style, like, there's something wrong. You know, there's something wrong if there's so many weapons that are simply outclassed, or there's so many weapons that are simply not viable. You know, there's a balance issue, or there's a mechanics issue. There's something wrong with the game if so many weapons are outclassed. Because, for example, right now the most viable weapons are like ultras, pretty much like those really big hammers, like the great machete, the ultra great sword, like pretty much really the biggest of the biggest weapons, or weapons with these ridiculous 4-hit combos, like weapons with the spin bash or spin slash or whatever it's called, and then the straight swords or the double weapons, like the 2 katanas and then the Goddards, the sellsword twin blades, the wardens. But like for example, curved swords, they're not that great. Axes aren't that great. Great swords aren't that great because they're simply out hyper armored and they're out hyper armored by ultras, and they're not as fast as straight swords. Like they're in the middle, but it's a bad thing in this case. They're not as good, you know. So pretty much there's very few classes of weapons that are actually viable. And I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, but, you know, I'm awesome with the butcher's knife, or I'm awesome with this weapon. And yeah, maybe you are, but if you look at 90% of the people, they flock to these weapons because the fact of the matter is tiers exist, guys. And that's going to be the topic of my next video. But anyways, just let me know what you think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever, you know. I'm still new to making videos, so I'm still working on editing. I know my mic sometimes, maybe the volumes are a little messed up, maybe the video isn't super clear, whatever, you know. So any suggestions are appreciated. And I'm still working on getting my voice out there. I'm still working on making quality videos and stepping my game up and all of that, so I can make the best videos possible. But yeah, all my videos, I think like the most viewed right now is like 36 views or something. So it's not a lot, you know. But any support is always appreciated. Share it with your friends or whatever, because I really want to get my voice out there and voice my opinions and share some games and whatever, you know. Like I have a few ideas for some other games that I want to maybe put on my channel, but I'll save that for when I actually get those games or whatever. But yeah, guys, so I'll see you guys in the next video.